Hey everybody, this is Natalie from Champion of Coins Tarot, and I'm here today to do part 2 of my deck collection walkthrough. This video will be focusing on my current Oracle deck collection. I currently have 6 decks, although I was one of the winners for Storytelling Tea and Tarot's deck giveaway this month, which I am just so honored and so thrilled about. I won her copy of the Fallen Angels Oracle deck, and it's currently on the way. And I'm so humbled that she chose me to be part of the giveaway because, I just found her channel this month through Ethne's challenge. I binge watched all of her videos, and I really appreciate just how eloquent she is and her unique point of view and her experiences and her insights about the cards. She's an absolute inspiration, so I'm really honored to be able to kind of adopt one of her decks into my collection. But like I said before, I am just going to focus on the 6 that I have with me at hand that I've had experience with so far. And I've actually tried filming this several times, and each time there have been technical difficulties with my phone. It has glitched out a lot. I don't know what that's about. Maybe the Daemon Tarot is up to something. I don't know, but we shall see. So I'm going to go through and talk about these decks in the order that I purchased them. The first one being Los Scarabæos Astrological Oracle cards. And it was funny because when I purchased this, I didn't know that it is only a 22 card deck. It has cards for each of the 12 zodiac signs and for each of the 10 planetary bodies in Western astrology. So I don't use this like a typical oracle deck. I don't do spreads with it. I don't do one card draws. But what I do is I will often draw out my birth chart with it if I want to look at it and interact with it in a very tangible way. And I will also draw cards to symbolize the planetary energy surrounding a situation or surrounding a particular season, like I did in my year ahead video that I can link below if anyone's interested. So that's what I do with that deck, and the guidebook that it comes with is more than the standard little white book. It's actually bound, which is very nice, and it features divinatory meanings for reading 2 cards together at the same time. So, for example, it shows what the meaning would be for, let's say, the moon in Aries, or for Sagittarius and Pisces, and stuff like that. And those are very accurate, and they really align with a lot of my own independent study about astrology, which is really interesting and I think adds just a layer of depth to this deck that it might not have otherwise had. And the sides are gilded in silver, which is lovely. So then the first true oracle deck that I decided to purchase was the Daemon Tarot by Ariana Osborne. And it's interesting because this is based off of artwork from the 18th century grimoire called the Infernal Dictionary. And Ariana actually went in and she digitally restored all of the original artwork from this book. And she goes very in depth into the guidebook and describes the history of these demons. And, whoops, didn't mean to bump the camera, but they feature some of the popular demons from Christian mythology, such as Lucifer and Beelzebub, but then they also feature goetic demons and figures like Michael, which are entities from European folklore and from folk mythology. Unfortunately, the creator of the grimoire also included deities from other cultures and saw them as being demonic figures, which is very sad because at this period in history, religious scholars were beginning to turn their attention and turn their focus to other religions and other cultures, such as Hinduism. However, there was a very Eurocentric, very white-centric, a very Christian-centric lens that was applied to these studies. And these other religions were seen as being less legitimate, and their beliefs, their practices, their gods were demonized and bastardized in many ways, which is very, very unfortunate. And I want to commend Miss Osborne for being so clear and being so socially conscious about that in her guidebook and in the creation of this deck. I think that she has done a beautiful job of keeping the deck and keeping the intention very honest and very clear, which is very good. And this is the deck that I've kind of had the most interesting experiences with. When I first saw it in Barnes & Noble, I was instantly drawn to it because the deck felt so fiery. When I held it, I felt like the box was on fire and that um, there were just flames licking my hands. And it wasn't painful, it was just so visceral. And I had never had an energetic experience like that before. So, of course, I wanted to buy it. I brought it home. I let it chill out under a citrine point for a couple days just to kind of let it marinate and get used to being in my home and get it attuned to my energy. And then before I did any formal readings with it, I actually did a deck blessing, which is very rare. I don't often feel like I need to bless or to consecrate decks, but I did for this one for kind of obvious reasons. And when I was doing that, as I had my eyes closed, all of a sudden I visualized this white pinpoint of light hovering over the deck. And it slowly grew bigger and bigger and bigger until it filled my entire field of vision. And suddenly it contracted and then it burst open like a beautiful supernova, like just a beautiful celestial light show. And it was so lovely. And I just felt this wave of peace. And I felt like I was just really in tune with the deck's energies and that we had just completely aligned. And ever since then, I've gotten the most amazing readings from it, and I haven't had any troubles working with it or any of the entities contained within the deck. I mean, I will say though that this deck is very blunt and very harsh, and I would not read for it with other people. Like, this is very much my personal oracle deck. And some of the messages, I will admit, have been very blunt and have been very harsh. And sometimes it brings up things and it brings up memories and events in my life that I don't want to focus on and I don't want to talk about. It's very concerned with my love life, for example, and it will bring up a lot of insecurities that I have about my relationship. And it often makes me feel negative emotions. It makes me feel sad, or it makes me feel disappointed in myself. And I don't know why it is making me feel this way. But I've always kind of stepped back. I just journaled and channeled the messages that I need to channel, and then I'll go away and I'll leave the cards for a few hours and I'll do something else. And all of a sudden it will click into place and I'll realize what it was actually saying and what the advice was. And then I'll go back and I will amend that interpretation that I originally got. And every single time it has been not what I wanted to hear, but what I really needed to hear. And it's been nothing but nurturing. It's helped me to grow in so many positive ways, and it's helped me to feel more confident and to really own up to my role in relationships. It's helped me to own up to a lot of my desires and a lot of my shortcomings, and it's helped me to devise plans to actually work on them. So again, I really love this deck. It is one of my favorites in my Oracle collection. The next deck that I got was the Lay Vampire Oracle by Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith. And this is like the complete opposite from the Daemon Tarot, actually, because this deck is so beautiful and it's so comforting. The artwork is so soft, and I still get very empowering messages, but it's so focused on self-love and self-care and taking the time to myself to really just guard myself and protect myself and to make sure that I'm treating my body correctly, that I'm treating myself with the utmost care and the utmost love and respect. And it plays really well for others too. I don't normally read tarot and oracle together, but I have used this deck, especially in conjunction with the China tarot, actually, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it just solidifies the reading. It adds just an uplifting and supportive message for the end of a session. So I really do love working with it. I like reading for it with other people, and it's one of my staples. It's an oracle deck that I use more than any other, really, except maybe the Daemon Tarot, because I use that one a lot. But it definitely has helped me to really learn to love myself and to really just step into my own power and my own agency. And I'm really thankful for it and for its presence in my life. Okay. Whoops, I just realized that I left one of my decks over there in the corner, so I'm going to pause you real quick and hopefully this will work. Okay, I'm back, everybody. Hopefully this will splice together correctly. But I realized that I left one of my oracle decks over on my altar, and it's the Voices of Saints Oracle by Lo Scarabeo. And this deck is really, really unique. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm just going to say that right up front. It's based on artwork from Italian Catholic prayer cards, the kind that will often be given out after Mass or on a saint's feast day. And I love this deck. I mean, I grew up Catholic. My mother still works for the Catholic Church, and it's something that has always been around me and has always been very influential for me. And even like when I was a child, my dad was in the military, and so we lived in Italy for almost 7 years. And so I was just completely immersed in that culture. Like religion was everywhere, God was everywhere, the saints were everywhere. And it was really beautiful. And I recognize that not everybody has had a good childhood experience with Christianity or with any religion in general. But it was really good to me. And it wasn't until really the past few years that I realized so many problems within the community, within the church, and within especially American Catholicism and American denominations of Christianity, which is really sad because the saints are one of the very few things that I completely believe in. I know that there have been certain moments in my life where if there hadn't have been an intercession by my patron saint, that I probably would not be alive. Like, they've never failed me. And it's interesting because this deck is meant to be read more as a divinatory system. It's meant to be much more predictive than what I'm used to. It doesn't give a lot of information about the saint's life. Like, there are some saints who, if I didn't already know about them from living in Italy, like, for example, St. Clare of Assisi, like, I would have absolutely no idea who they were or why, like, certain divinatory meanings would align with them and with that person. But I don't know. I like it, and I'm trying to take it for what it is. And I'm still going to journal with it anyway. I'm still going to do my own independent research and kind of make up for what the Little White Book lacks. And I mean, just real quick, I know some people, especially like Protestants in America, like don't really understand why Catholics venerate the saints the way that we do, or why they relate to the Virgin Mary in the way that they do. And the saints are just like any other deceased souls. They are human. And for the Catholic Church, there is no division between the living and the dead. Like during the Mass, all of the souls, all of the people that have ever existed and who will exist, and the people who are alive on earth right now, they all come together and they are all united at the sacred altar, at the Axis Mundi, in that moment and in that space. And so it's really no different from communicating with any other spirit. I know there are people who they often think of their grandmother or their grandparents if they are departed, and they will ask for their help or they will ask for their blessing when doing a certain event or doing a certain action. And that's basically the same principle. Like they are part of the spiritual family, they are part of just the human family. And I guess you could kind of compare them to ascended masters or to bodhisattvas in Buddhism because they are people who the church recognizes as being enlightened or being in communion with God, of performing miracles in their lifetime. So that's really interesting. And it's not worship because they are human beings. they themselves are not divine. It is their relationship with God and with the divine, with spirit, with source, that is what makes them examples of virtue. And of course, not all of them are perfect. They were very much products of their time. There are plenty of missionaries that were elevated to sainthood by the church that had very questionable methods and that unfortunately contributed to the erasure of native cultures and native traditions. But on the whole, I really like the saints, and they've been very helpful for me. And I'm at a crossroads in my spirituality because I grew up Catholic, but I'm really struggling with it. And I don't know if I would really consider myself Catholic anymore. I would say that as far as beliefs, and I talk about religious beliefs because the social teachings are kind of a completely different video and a completely different topic. And I'm not sure why I'm like going so in depth about it here, but it's just disappointing. And it just doesn't resonate with what I believe the divine is like. It doesn't resonate with what I believe human beings are like. And I'm sick of how conservative and how political, like the Conference of Catholic Bishops in the United States is. I'm sick of just church abuses and of just the pro-life movement in general, because I'm very feminist, and it's just disappointing that a lot of religious people, unfortunately, do not practice what they preach. They are not exemplars of their faith, and instead they twist it into just horrible and intolerant practices that have no relation to the original meaning and the original message. So that's kind of where I am. I'm kind of off doing my own thing, but the saints are still a vital part of my life. They are just so influential in the way that I see the world and in the way that I interact with the divine, the way I interact with spirits, the way that I interact with other people in general. And I'm glad that I have this deck because I really need to work on it, and I really need to do some healing in regards to my childhood faith and in regards to myself. And I'm just really eager to see where this will go and how it will read for me. So that was really long, and I apologize. The next one is the Psychic Tarot for the Heart Oracle by John Holland. And it's kind of an oracle and it's kind of a tarot. And I decided to put it into this category because that's what the author originally intended for it to be. It's based off of the chakra system. So, because it's the tarot for the heart, it's about love and healing and looking at your relationship with yourself and looking at your relationship with partners and friends. The back features the heart chakra, of course, and then it's surrounded by a mandala of light and of heart shapes. It's very beautiful. I do have the edition with the gilding. The cards did come stuck together for me, unfortunately. Like, there are some scuff marks on the sides where I had to peel it off, but it doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, I'm okay with it. And it's interesting because all of the names have been changed and keywords have been added to every single card. And the borders for each suit correspond with the chakra that is associated with each suit. So, for example, wands are purple to correspond with the third eye chakra and with the crown chakra. Cups are green for the heart. The majors all have black borders here. And as you can see, some of the concepts are very different. For example, trump number 7, which we would traditionally call the chariot, it still has movement, but it's talking about a movement of energy between different people and a coming together of minds and hearts and kind of marrying the two and coming together to create something bigger. So there's still kind of the sense that it's taking in your agency and taking in your power and moving forward. But in this sense, it's a collaborative effort and you're not alone and you don't have to go through things alone. You don't have to experience trials alone. You can reach out to other people in order to help your dreams to come true and to help your goals come to fruition, which is very interesting. Swords are associated with the mind, and so they are associated with the throat chakra. And then it also just has physical cards for each chakra itself that you can use for different spreads. And let's see. the pentacle or the body suit just kind of want to turn off. There it is. It's red for the root chakra, of course. This also doesn't have any of the court cards. It only goes for 1 through 9 for the majors. So it's interesting, and I'm still really experimenting with it, but I like it because it's very soft. It gives absolutely beautiful readings, especially in regards to energy surrounding situations. So I like using it both by itself and in conjunction with other decks. It's really, really interesting, and I just need to spend more time with it. I got it this past December, and it's still very relatively new to the collection. This Justice card, I think, is absolutely perfect. I love this depiction of justice. It's just the artwork it brings such nuance and just such a fresh perspective to these archetypes, which is why I wanted this deck and why I have not been disappointed at all so far. Then the last oracle in my collection is the Gods and Titans deck by Stacey DeMarco with artwork by Jimmy Manton. Whew. And this deck, this is one that I know that this is going to be in my life for a very long time. I actually have the US edition, which has the reversible backs. Unfortunately, the cardstock is nothing to write home about, but it does have 2 extra cards, which is what I really wanted. And I'm going to put Dionysus aside because I have a lot to talk about with him. But this deck, I got it because I need to heal my relationship with divinity. And I want to really do a lot of research with different cultures to look at different ideas and different forms that the sacred masculine has taken within our cultures throughout the ages, throughout the centuries. And it's been so powerful and so incredible. And I talked about in one of 31 Days of Tarot videos, my deck interview with it. And, it does put me in touch with a sense of divinity and with a sense of power and beauty and just divine love. And that's something that I wasn't expecting, because the artwork is so hyper masculine. But it is. And I know that there are some people who don't like this deck. I know that it's very much a sexualized and an idealized version of the male body. And as a feminist, I don't appreciate that. I will be honest, I don't. But then at the same time, I have a lot of decks, both Oracle and Tarot, in which only the women are portrayed as being beautiful and as being objectified. And after a while, it gets really kind of tiring and really sickening because you see these men of different ages and of different body types. And, it's like there's no excuse for why women shouldn't be portrayed that way as well. So at least if artists and tarot deck creators are going to prescribe to these just unrealistic standards, then they should apply them to everybody. It's like all of the archetypes and not just the women. So that's my opinion on that, which take it or leave it. But I really do love the deck, and I don't think that it really detracts from it at all in my case. In fact, it's actually been a wonderful surprise. And this is the card. This is what made me decide to buy the deck and what absolutely sold me on it, because I have a hard time with letting go and with dealing with my anxieties and taking risks. I have a hard time with seeing myself as being a sensual person, as being even a sexual person in certain situations. I just have so much healing to do in regards to myself and taking on my own personal power and what I'm capable of. And when I saw this image of Dionysus, who I've read so many myths about, I have seen so much artwork of him, and I know that his cultists was often known for their ecstatic frenzies and for their divine madness, for murder and overindulgence, and just things that in our contemporary culture now we would consider to be really decadent and really excessive, and in some cases really horrifying and really taboo. And I love how the artist depicted him as being an open and being an inviting figure. Like, he's so relaxed and so safe. And he's just so inviting. It's like he's looking at me and it's like he's saying, it's okay to indulge. It's okay to explore. Like, you don't have to limit yourself. You don't have to feel constricted. You can like let loose and you can really discover who you are. And the sensual side of life, the physical side of life, is just as important and is just as sacred as the spiritual aspect that you have been focusing on. And just hearing that message every time I look at this card is such a comfort and has helped me immensely. And I love him. I love just what Dionysus represents, and I love this artistic depiction of him. I think I was watching Owlmoon 513's video before I purchased this deck, where she was talking about how she wasn't a big fan of how he was portrayed, but for me, it just absolutely resonates, and it absolutely holds true. And like I said before, like this deck is so sacred for me, and it takes me to that place, and it really fosters a deep connection and a deep bond with the male divine. And that's what I wanted, and that's what I really need in my life right now. So it's very, very good, and I have no regrets. So that is a look at my current Oracle deck collection. Thank you so much for watching. And I forgot to say this in my other video, but if you see any decks that you are very curious about, either tarot or Oracle, please let me know, and I would be more than happy to do a review or a walkthrough video for them. And I'd also like to just get in a discussion. Like, if you see any decks that you don't know about or that you do have and that you really love, I would love to chat down below. So again, thank you so much for watching my channel, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye!